wanted to know about was how you ended up getting into the stagehands. How did you get into
wait a
this?
minute.
How did you get into the stagehands union?
How did I get into it?
Yeah, how did that come about?
My brother Harry, who was a member of the stagehands union, brought me into it. In other words, he got the application for me as a member, and it was due to his way of doing it that I got in.
How did he get in it?
Oh, he got in the early 1900s, that I don't know how. He was in the union, but got in about 1906. And how he got, I don't remember.
Now you did a lot of other things before you got into union. You were a boxer?
I was a boxer. I was a veteran of the United States Marine Corps, which I enlisted in 1916.
Were you underage at the time?
I was underage. I was 15 and I gave him my age was 18.
Yeah.
So I'm at discharge. 3 years older than every year. It's like the World War I. Medical discharge.
Was that because of the time you were gassed?
I was gassed in World War I. And I got a medical discharge. That's all I know of.
And were you a boxer before you went into the Marines?
Yes. I was a boxer that started at the age of 14.
Yeah.
As a boxer.
Were you a good boxer?
Well, I wouldn't say good, I was fair. I got knocked out twice, yes.
Did you
but
win?
I won several bouts.
You won several too?
Yeah.
But did you lose enough to let you know you shouldn't continue, or?
No. It's when I enlisted in the Marine Corps I stopped. I quit.
Mm-hmm.
That's all. I thought I'd better do my fighting in the Marine Corps.
Did you just serve in Europe when you were in the Marine Corps?
No,
Were you just in Europe when you were in the Marine Corps?
I was in France with the overseas in the war. I had several campaigns.
Do you remember which campaigns you were in?
The Verdun campaign. What's the name of that hill? I can't think of it. But it may be on my discharge paper, which you'll find in the black thing in the drawer.
Okay.
With where the will be.
Okay.
My discharge paper. Oh yeah. My stagehand union has a death benefit.
Right.
And I think you know.
Right. You told me about all. I've got all that written down.
Yeah, that you have to notify them that
right.
all expenses are paid, funeral expenses.
Right. I've got that at home.
Yeah. Then you get that.
Now, when you were in the service, was that the time that you went through Richmond, Virginia? You told us a story once about your Uncle Harry was a show there.
I was in Chronicle, Virginia, and that night, I remember it was a Friday night. We were going to leave for embark to France. Where we were going, we didn't know because the train that we were on kept backing and forward, just to get us bewildered in which way we were going, whether we were going north or south. But daylight, I noticed we were passing Richmond, Virginia. And my brother was playing with a show in Richmond, Virginia. And I'm looking out on the street. We would stop over a trestle, over a street, on a trestle. And I didn't know how to contact them. So I had a letter in my pocket that my sister sent me. And I took that letter, and on the envelope, I wrote my brother's name, playing with the show Old Boy, and would you please deliver it to the theater that was playing? And I threw it out on the street. somebody came along, picked it up, and delivered it to
No kidding.
me. Yeah, that's it.
That's terrific.
Yeah. And that's how he knew I was on my way to France. And we got to Newport News, Virginia, where we boarded the transport. We came up to New York Bay, the harbor, waiting for escorts and so on. And at that time I lived in Brooklyn, and I could almost see my home when we were anchored in the bay. And I should jump overboard and swim. But that never materialized.
You didn't feel like a real hero going over.
No. Didn't feel like anything.
Did any of your other brothers serve?
Oh yeah. There was 3 brothers and myself. There's 4 of us in the service in World War I. And at that time, they used to have a little banner with a star for every son that was in the service. And my mother had that 4 stars on the window, facing the street. The people knew there was 4 of us in the service. She was very proud of it.
Did you all make it through?
We all came back safe.
That's good.
Yeah. We all came back safe. And 3 of us were overseas. 1 didn't go. Brother Harry. Then we got to go overseas. And I came back, very nice, discharged from the hospital, came home, in good health, and that was it.
So when you came back, what did you do at first when you were discharged?
When I first came back, I was a taxi driver. When I first came back. Until I went into the theater business. Well,
so what year was it you went into the theater business? About 1919 maybe?
1919.
1919.
I started in theater business, and I retired in 1961.
But you haven't really retired yet.
What?
You haven't really retired yet.
Oh, I'm still active. I'm what we call the international representative. But with my age and my physical ability now, I'm not as active as I was, let's say, 3 or 4 years ago. This show was at Proctor's 58th Street Theater in New York City. It was a vaudeville theater. I was an apprentice there. And I served 2 years there. The 3rd year, I worked at the Palace Theater in New York. And then I got my union card, full card. And I went to work at the Academy of Music in New York City. I stayed there several years. Then I went up on Broadway to do production shows. And I was a traveling man for about 35 years.
What were some of the shows you went on?
The biggest show and the longest one was The King and I.
With your brother?
4 years, 4.5 years almost. I was with that show. And then I was doing, with so many shows that I'm...
Now you saw Yul Brynner not too long before he died. He was in Miami.
Yeah, I saw Yul Brynner in New York.
Oh, was in New York?
Yeah, just before he died. Maybe 2 weeks before he died. He was all right, he was healthy and all.
So you went backstage and you said you spoke with him for quite a while?
What?
You went backstage and spoke with him?
Oh yeah. Every time I'd be in any place that he's there. He was very, very friendly. We were very close.
I've heard sometimes he was a very difficult person to work with, a very perfectionist.
Yes. Let me put it this way. If I was Yul Brynner, I was working at CBS television at the Grand Central Station in New York. And that's when Yul Brynner and his sister came up. And I don't think they got paid, or if they did, there was a very nominal fee. And they used to sit on the floor doing folk songs with a guitar. And then he did some acting in television. Then he became a director in television. Which he was a very difficult director at the time. At that time he was very difficult. And then we did a show with Mary Martin. Mary Martin, I was with that show. And then we did The King and I. And we were together, we were very friendly.
You never had any problems with him?
Never. No, we were too close to have problems.
Now, you worked with Orson Welles too, didn't you?
I worked with Orson Welles. With Orson Welles, during the Second World War, things were rough, and we were working at WPA with the shows. Mm-hmm. And Orson Welles got the same amount of money as I did, $23 a week. Mm-hmm. We were doing shows around the city on trucks. Then I did one show with him, production called Richard III. And it was a it was a 6-hour show. So we do one show one night, do one part of it, and the second part the following night. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't successful. We opened in Philadelphia and closed there. Of course. Very expensive show. He was all right. Orson Welles was a nice guy. Oh yeah, then I did 80 Days Around the World with him. When he was the producer, but the leading man, we opened in Boston, and the leading man and him got into an argument, and he took over the leading man's part in 80 Days Around the World.
Do you remember who the leading man was?
No. I don't remember his name.
You told me a story once too that this may have been after he did Citizen Kane, but the Hearst papers came out with a very negative review.
Yeah. So after the opening show,
is this the 80 Days Around the World?
The 80 Days Around the World. Anderson, who was critic for the Evening Journal in New York, came out and he said that Orson Welles had everything in the show but the kitchen sink. So the following night, after the show, he made a curtain speech and he brought out the kitchen sink. Yeah, he did that. He laughed like hell about it. He was a wonderful guy, very clever. Very clever.
Now, I remember hearing when I was little, and I've seen the pictures of Mom and my mother with Abbott and Costello.
Oh, yeah.
And I heard the story that you used to loan them money one time or something like that.
Oh, what?
That you loaned them money?
Oh, yeah. Lou Costello, we were working in burlesque. I was working for Minsky's Burlesque. And Lou Costello and Buddy Abbott were teamed up. And they weren't getting paid much. It was very nominal.
Was this before they became famous?
Before they got into a show. And I not only loaned them, I used to give him a couple of dollars so he could go out and eat. That's how bad it was. But it was very nice. He reciprocated quite a bit after that. Because every time I got out to California, I'd visit him, and that's when the picture became big. Mm-hmm. Now, he was very good. He was a very nice man.
Who are your favorite people to work with, the favorite stars to work with?
Oh, Dr. McGuire. had a show called, the name of that show. Oh. One thing I can't, what's the name of that show? Claudia. But Dr. McGuire, I was with her for a year and a half, and we were very, very friendly. In fact, every show I was with, I was very friendly with most of the cast. The King and I was friendly with them all, very friendly. No, that's about it. And then on and off, I did over 100 different productions. Produced them and then either stayed them or went to another show.
Did you like that kind of life?
Yeah. I liked it. It was busy. Kept busy and they knew that I had the talent for the job. And I had a very good reputation. So I was very seldom out of work. Very seldom.
Were you hit hard during the Depression? Did you have any problems then?
Oh yes. Yeah, during the Depression we were all hit hard. Especially the theaters. Because people weren't spending money for amusement. So the theaters were hit very hard. And that's why I said during the Depression, we worked for WPA, government, $23 a week. And that 23 was used to carry us as much as possible. So, but we got over it though.
Did you ever think that you might have wanted to do something else instead of that kind of work?
No.
When you were younger, was there something else you wanted to do?
No, I had no ambition for anything. But once I got into the theater, that was my life. That was it. It was wonderful. It was enjoyable. That's about all I could say about it.
When did you meet Mom?
I met Mom. I was working with Practice 58th Street Theater. And she was the dancer. She was there. And it seemed that both of us love at first sight. We took to one another right off the bat. And she's only in there for a half a week. And from then on we became close. And I don't know how long it was, maybe 6 to 7 months. After that, in several months, we decided we'd get married. And she was all right.
Now, she had been married before.
Yeah.
Was it that unusual back then?
Well, she was in the theater. She was a dancer. She met this, what's his name? Rickstraw was his name. And then while we were courting, she was getting a divorce. And Jerry was she was about 3 years old. We were very close all our lives. And that's all I can say about it. We were very happy. We had a very, very happy marriage.
Did she keep working for a while after you got married?
Yeah. Yeah. She kept working. We had a dancing troupe. Yeah.
Did they travel around too?
Not much. They traveled not much. They did mostly in the East.
Were you traveling a lot at that point?
At that time, no. No, because I was working in the city at that time. I didn't start traveling till in the 1920s. So 21 or 22. Then I started traveling. I loved it. Traveling was ideal. Traveling was an education. Traveling was keeping busy all the time. Because every week, going into a different town, working, putting the show on, taking it off at the end of the week, doing it again Monday, Sunday, or Monday. Really good. No, it was very interesting. I loved it.
Did you mind being separated from your wife very much?
Well, at one time, yes. But Mama knew that was because things weren't too good in New York City, and that was, as long as I sent her a check every week, it was all right. Long as that. But we got along very well.
Did you know her parents?
Oh, yeah.
What were they like?
Well, her father was a photographer on Grand Street, New York City. And he's a very, very good photographer and finisher. And most of the Jewish actors and actresses used to go to him for photographs. He's very good at it. And he had this studio on Grand Street. And they lived in the city. Part of the studio, part of the house. That's what they did. Until he gave up and they moved to Brooklyn. And they had an apartment. He'd stopped.
Now, was he born in this country?
What?
Was her father born in this country?
No. I don't know where they came from. They were immigrants. And she had two brothers and two sisters. Two brothers and two sisters. And we were all gone now.
What was my mother like as a little girl?
She was the cutest. She was a little redhead. She was born the cutest little thing you ever saw. Redhead. And, I was working at the Hippodrome Theater in New York at the time. And we lived in Brooklyn. She was born in the hospital on 125th Street in New York. And I drove up there one morning. Traffic didn't mean anything. I was rushing through. She started to have labor pains. And drove her up to the hospital. It was on a Monday, because we had a new show in Broadway. We changed every Monday. And I left her there. And her sister came down to the theater Hippodrome about 4 o'clock. Told me that your mother was blood. So I quit right away that afternoon. I went up to the hospital. Stayed there. But the cutest redhead you ever saw.
Where did the name Belle come from?
From my grandmother. My grandmother lived to the age of 106. So at that time, she wasn't that old, but she was old. So I said, that's the age. My grandmother could live that age with that name.
Was Mom a good student in school?
Not too good. No, she wasn't. Jerry was a student. Yeah, she wasn't a good student. She left early.
Did she graduate from high school?
She was quit school went to California. That's when she was.
How far did she go in school? Do you remember? She meet her first husband.
Who?
Belle.
Oh, they had friends. There were a clique of girls from school. And they had friends. And Jules is one of the cliques that they. And from the first day I met him, I didn't care for him. He was the type of guy, reminds you of Rick, I this, I that. Now, one of the friends got married, and then the father and Bill, Jules, they decided to get married.
Did he have a job then?
After this,
Oh, okay.
yeah, he was in the fur business, which was, I don't know what kind of job he had there, but one of those seasonal jobs in the program. And I was working for WPIX television.
Mm-hmm.
And they decided to get married. The night before they were married, I sat up till 5 o'clock in the morning. Please, no, do not get married. Do not, I'm telling you the truth. Do not get married. She kept crying. What did my friends say? Well, the friends you talk. Family, I can tell them. No, all right. So they got married the next day. And I had the car, I gave them the car. They went up to the mountains and I gave them the money and all. I got an apartment for them, fixed it up completely. But even to the curtains on the windows. Mom and I went over, we fixed everything up, furniture and all. Then I let him work in my business as a stagehand. And he had a damn good job. He was getting over $400 a week, which was big money then. Then he got big-headed. In other words, don't tell me what to do on this. Yeah, I'm advising you what to do in the business. Don't tell me. Julius, that's the way you are. Sorry, you're not going to work there. So, he didn't have a union card, just working extra. But through me, through my business agent, he did it for me. So we took him off the job. He goes to his business agent, tells him, look, whatever Murray says, that's what that'll be done. Now, that's when you were born already. Now, it goes to Lloyd's when you sue me. So your mother went out to California. Sent her out to California to Redding. They were relatives, and that's why she got a divorce. So he's going to sue me for taking her off the job, which didn't mean anything. Now, in the meantime, we came down here. We went to visit my father and grandmother. And we saw this house on 17th Avenue, and we bought that one.
Mm-hmm.
Then we brought you and your mother back in, fixed the house up, we went to live in there. Then we met your father. That was it. It was good. grandmother was, she tried everything in the world to get the marriage and all.
You knew Gert and Nathan in New York too?
Huh?
You knew Gert and Nathan in New York?
No. I knew
Was it Gert's
his sister.
His sister, okay.
His sister lived next door to us. Right next building. And through her, that's how we met. We went to visit them one day.
Awesome.
And on the way home, we saw this house.
Mm-hmm.
And they just finished building it. And we bought.
My mother, maybe before she got married, she worked in New York for a while, didn't she? She worked as a secretary?
She was working here. Yeah, I don't remember what it was.
I think she worked in the Empire State Building at one point.
Oh, yeah, no. Now I remember, yeah. Now you mentioned Empire State. That was during the war. And she worked for the government. Some department, I don't know. At the Empire State Building. It must have been, what do they call it? Because she bought a car for me. She got me the car that I paid for, but through the agency, federal agency. It was a Ford.
Mm-hmm.
I remember it was $485 for the car. And I didn't know it. And I think I was on the road at the time. And I didn't know until I came home. And Mom says, come on, let me show you something. So it was in the garage where we lived. So it's the car was there. Yeah, she did work there.
Do you think she ever wanted to work anymore, or do you think she really wanted to be a housewife?
No. No, she never wanted to work. No, she's a good housewife. Very good. But
How did she and Jerry get along?
who?
How did she get along with her sister, Jerry?
Jerry got along very well. Yeah, very well. They got along well. Although Belle was a little jealous of Jerry with me. She always thought I was favoring Jerry. She did mention it several times, which I wasn't. But she thought so. Jerry was, what, 9 years older.
Mm-hmm.
And so naturally the older one going to school and college and all that. And Jerry was a very, very good student.
Big family. There were what, 12,
11
13,
children.
11 children altogether?
6 boys and 5 girls.
What was it like for your father and mother trying to raise all those kids?
Well, let me say, my mother was a brains and businesswoman. There was a woman that didn't know how to sign her own name. Everything was with an X on it, with a signature. But her brains, she was in the real estate game, I'll say, not in the business, but in the game. That she would buy and sell real estate with the sharpest mind you ever saw, and figures, fractions of figures, she could figure in her head faster than anyone of us with that paper. Fractionals. She, very sharp, she would buy a piece of property and she would, her own mind, she would do it her way and always come out ahead. She bought a piece of property, Sheepshead Bay in Brooklyn, on the waterfront. And when the tide went out, she could get a buyer to sell it. People people would come in when the tide was in and it was flooded. They'd come up, she'd buy it back. A tailor, that's all. And there was a lot of disputes between them during our life. Although my mother lived till 92, which was a real good age. My father lived, he was 63 when he passed away. And, but my mother, as I told you, she could take fractional figures in her mind, fascinating. If she goes to the bank, percentage or whatever it is, a fraction, she'll argue with them, fight with them, and come out right. That's how my mother was.
Do you know how your mother and father met?
No. No, look. That's going back into the 1880s. And my father was here, the 88 blizzard. No, I don't know how they met. All I know was that my mother used to tell us how they had a farm. It's Russian Poland, right on the border, Russian Poland. And she'd go out and work on the farm from early morning till night. She was a very, very strong woman, very strong. And then my father came over here. Now, there was 3 children that were born in Russia. We left my mother and 3 children, 2 brothers and a sister. Yeah. And my mother had to go to London first, where she had a sister living there. And my mother, my grandmother, lived in London. So she went there first and then came over here. What year, I don't know.
Did you ever know your grandparents at all?
No. No, there was several times. The first time, when I was during World War I, when I was going to go to London from France, when I was in France, and I was set to go to London on the furlough, see. And orders came down and says to me, what do you want to do? You want to go to London or do you want to go home? You can go home tomorrow. So no, I'll go home. So I missed that one. Then, in later years, my brother Harry, my brother Ben, and I were supposed to go to London. 3 times we had to cancel it. But something came up that we couldn't make it. Now, I'm thinking, when I get to New York now, that I got my passport, that I may go for a week or 10 days, just to say I was there. I'd love to do that.
What was it like growing up in New York when you were a child?
Oh, growing up in New York, Brooklyn was a rough neighborhood. We fought your way from beginning to end. Street fights almost every day. Playing baseball always had fights. It was a rough. But let me say, I wish I had those days over again.
Why is that?
Interesting. It was very interesting days, yes. Now I'll say I enjoyed it. Because I was a rough and tumble kid. Very rough. And that's where I learned how to take care of myself. Nobody could puff love me at all. I was a strong, happy kid. And I lived a life of my own, let me say that.
Did it help having a lot of brothers?
Not so much. No. My brother Harry was the only one that we were close to. Although, yeah, we were no arguments or nothing friction between us. But the closest, my brother Harry and I were that close.
Was it difficult being Jewish?
Not with me because I declared myself over.
You declared what?
I declared I was Jewish. I had nobody could vote for me. Once it happened. I was in the Marine Corps. It was in Quantico, Virginia. No, it wasn't. It was Paris Island. Talking about boot camp. And we were living in tents. We had army cots, 2 in the tent. Sitting and talking like you and I. One fellow across there. But he called me a Christ school. Doing some discussion. 1 week. I thought the whole tent, everything. So that's what we were brought up for. Commander. I told him the story. So right next to headquarters was the gymnasium called the bowling. And it says, 2 of you go in the bowling and finish it up. The guy wouldn't go. Boy, it killed him. So, but otherwise it wasn't. Now, I enlisted from Cleveland, Ohio. And on the way to Paris Island in Cincinnati. In Cincinnati, 2 other fellows got on. They were going to Paris Island. They also enlisted.
I'm listening.
And we became very close. One guy's name was Evans, and the other guy was Dwyer.
Yeah.
And we were very close because every time we were shifted, they took us alphabetically, see? So Evans and Dwyer and Burden, so we all went the same way. So our boot camp, then we went aboard ship out of New Hampshire, USS New Hampshire. From there to Saint Domingue, we were together all the way right to during the war in France. When we all went to different hospitals. And that's where but we were together for a year, over a year. But I liked it, I enjoyed it. Very good life. The experience was worth it. You're either a man or a bum. So it's either one. You either come out a man or you come out a bum. Dwyer was a heavy drinker. Joe Dwyer. He was married. And Melissa when he was married. And I saw him once after that. How it happened to come through. Lived in Covington, Kentucky. And I came through there one time. I went to see him one morning, Sunday morning. And he was half drunk, sleeping on the cot at home. So I just said hello and I walked out. Didn't say much about it. But never heard from either one of them since.
You were quite a card player too, Zerko. I can remember one time when we were playing gin rummy around the table one time at my house. And at one point, you said you knew what everybody had. And sure enough, you told every one of us what we had in our hands.
Yeah, because I still a good card. I still play a lot of cards. Like even now, I'll go down, get up, I'll have my brunch. I don't eat breakfast till about 11:30. We go down, and then we go and we play gin rummy. In the evening, hey, what's it? Which is I gotta close.
We're almost done.
No, I gotta go to remind you. You're supposed to meet somebody for dinner. I just happened to think of it. Today's Tuesday. Well, I gotta call him. So, we get down, we play gin rummy. And if we stay there, I play poker at night. Yeah. And it's a pastime for me, more than anything else. No, I still play cards.
Do you win a lot?
Well, I don't know. Last night, I won $22. Small poker game. last Saturday, we were on a boat, on the ship, you know. They have a casino on the ship, and then I won over $400.
Playing poker?
No, they play blackjack. So they play all the dice, craps. So I won a little over $400 Saturday. I got to be lucky. I was unlucky in the morning, losing. But at night I won it all back. No, I enjoyed it. I love it. I take X number of dollars with me. And that's when it's going around on the head. That's it.
You worked on television shows for a while.
Oh yeah, a long time.
You worked on The Price is Right, was that it? Or was it The Price is Right that you worked on? Or
No, with Johnny Carson.
You worked on Johnny Carson show?
Sure. He's in New York. He had an afternoon show then.
Just before he took over this night show?
The night show. He had an afternoon show. And at night I worked television quite a bit at NBC. And Kate Smith and what's his name? He did the night show.
Jack Parr?
Jack Parr, yeah. He fit after what's his name left. Same show, but Jack Parr took over. What the hell's his name? Tall, skinny guy. But,
I can't remember now either.
I can't remember. I know him so well. He's so piano player.
Steve Allen?
Steve Allen.
Right.
Yeah. Steve Allen. Yeah, I did a lot of television.
How was it working with people like Steve Allen and Johnny Carson and Jack Parr?
Both of them were snobbish. Jack Parr mostly. Jack Parr, he married to one of the Hershey family, a woman, the Hershey chocolate family. And very, he was stupid. A lot of things he didn't know. During the baseball championship, the World Series, so we tell him so-and-so, he didn't know who the hell he was. I mean, that's it. I remember that incident. But, look, I always look at it this way. If it's snobbish, they don't want to talk, forget it. Just do your job, and that's all. Leave them alone, they'll leave you alone. Others were very, very nice, very friendly and all. Those you like to get along. No, Kate Smith was very nice to work for. It was wonderful. And that's my life in the
You played some baseball too, didn't you?
Yeah.
Did you ever play professionally or was
No.
it
Semi-pro.
semi-pro?
Played for the Bushwicks.
You gave me a baseball cap when I was little, New York Yankees cap.
Yeah.
And I remember you telling me that Joe DiMaggio had that cap.
It wasn't Joe, it was somebody.
Well, I don't know.
No, I don't remember. Somebody gave me it. One of the players gave me it. I don't remember. Yeah.
I don't know what happened to it.
Well, see, I don't know.
I was so proud of that hat.
Yeah. So, anything else? What else could I say? Again, you have my whole life's history now.
How would you sum it up?
I would sum it up. I'd say it was a good adventurous life. From my childhood on, it was adventure. In the service, it was adventure. In the theater, it was adventure. And I'd say it was a very interesting life. That's how it's summed up.
Do you have any regrets?
No. None at all. The only thing that I regret that when I was working in the theater today, it's about 5 or 6 times more pay than it was then. That's the only thing I regret.
Costs a lot more now too.
Well, yeah, but still in all. When I was making $300 a week, today they're making $1,200 a week. That's the difference. But I don't regret it. Look, don't forget, when Jerry took my money with Ricky that time, there was over $70,000 in bonds. You know it? It was over $70,000 that Jerry took. With all the bonds. And I could afford it then because on the bank statement, so Ricky took it to the bank when she rolled over. So that she was upon death, you know, she was going to give it all. And in the statement, she said that Mom was living with her address, which she wasn't. That was false right away, which I could afford to write through. My trouble that time, I had a very bad lawyer. The lawyer was very bad. And I dropped the whole thing. Because I said, the only ones that are going to suffer my grandchildren. It's their money. And then I kept working. You know what? Mostly my expense, when Mom was in the nursing home. That's where most of my money went. And all the money that Jerry took, she wouldn't donate a dime. Now 1 nickel would she donate to us. But again, it's life. It's life. It's always true.
What are you the proudest of? What are you the proudest of?
What am I the proudest of? I'll say that with all that Mom did in the later years, I'm proud that I paid off, took care of it till the day she died. That's what I'm proud of. That I kept my life with her, that I kept it going till the day she died. And I paid everything. I'm proud of that. That I had nobody helped me at all. And there was a lot of money. But she was in the nursing home over 3 years. But I don't regret it. Don't regret it. As I say, financially today, I'm okay. I don't ask anybody, want anything from anybody. I'd rather give than take than ask for anything. And that's what I'm proud of.
If you could pass on one bit of advice to your great-grandchildren, for what they should do in their lives, what should be important to them, what would you say?
What I would advise what I did, to use common sense most of the time. That's what I do. I use common sense. I think things over and I come to a conclusion, common sense of something. Use common sense in your life and you get along with everybody else. Don't be harsh, don't try to have enemies. Have friends rather than enemies. That's what I believe. Come on, more questions. Hit it.
One more. One more and that's it. Also, talking about advice, what do you think is the most important thing in life?
Most important thing, be truthful. If you made a mistake or an error, admit it. That was my most important thing. Because on my job in the theater, when I'd make a miscue, I would never deny it. I admit it, I'm sorry I did it. Because it's a lesson that you won't do it over again. You'll think about it. But I've had assistants working for me. They'd make mistakes and misuse, but always with an alibi. And I don't like an alibi. You made a mistake, admit it, and that's it. And I would admit it, they'd forgive me and everything like that. That's what I'd say.